Welcome back, friends. In today's session, we are going to start Form 3 Geography, and today we are going to start Physical Geography. So, as I know that Physical Geography is one among the parts which is very confusing in geography, but I hope if you will stay with me in all my sessions of Physical Geography, you will enjoy Physical Geography and the geography as a whole. Now, I know about Physical Geography because Physical Geography na vitu vingi na unatakiwa kujua diagrams together with explanation. Kwa hiyo baadhi ya watu hiyo inawapa ugumu kujua diagram pamoja na explanation. However, vitu vinawezekana. I'm using the notes from msomibola.com, so you can go into Google and search for msomibola.com, or I'll put a link in the description below so that you can get the notes for free. Now, today I'm going to start with the structure of the earth. In Physical Geography, I'm going to start with structure of the earth. So some of teachers, they tend to put it as if it is not Physical Geography, but actually it is a Physical Geography, and this question comes as the question of Physical Geography. Kwa hiyo nitaenda kwanza na structure of the earth, and after discussing the structure of the earth, then we will go to discuss other things in Physical Geography. So this is the diagram which shows the structure of the earth, and as you can see, we have the inner core, then you have the outer core, you have the mantle and the crust. Inner core, outer core, mantle and the crust. We shall see later the characteristics of every one of this one. Now let's start our discussion. First, let's start with the meaning of the earth. What is the earth? As we know, earth is the planet on which we live, or sometimes it is called the world. The world or the earth is the same thing. So earth ni dunia, sayari ambayo tunaishi, dunia. Hiyo ndio earth. Now in description, katika maelezo, earth is the planet third in order from the sun. Ni sayari ya tatu kutoka kwenye jua, having an equatorial diameter of 7,926 miles, ambayo ni sawa na kilomita 12,755. This is the equatorial diameter of the earth, and the polar diameter, it is 7,900 miles. So hiyo ni equivalent to kilomita 12,714. So unaweza kuona kwamba the equatorial diameter of the earth is greater. Equatorial diameter of the earth is greater as compared with the polar diameter. That means earth is elliptical in shape. When we are saying elliptical, we mean that the shape of the earth is not circular. Circular has a diameter. This is what you can call the equatorial diameter, and this one is the polar diameter. This way, the polar diameter. Now in a circle, the equatorial diameter must be equal to the polar diameter, but in the earth, these two diameters, they are different. That means the shape of the earth, it is elliptical. It is elliptical. The shape of the earth, it is elliptical, because the equatorial diameter, which this one, is greater as compared with the polar diameter. So the earth is the elliptical in shape. It is not circular. The earth is elliptical in shape. So kama ambavyo unaweza kuona hapo ni kwamba mean diameter ya earth ndio hizo hapo. Kuna equatorial diameter pamoja na polar diameter. From there tuna mean distance from the sun, which is 92.9 million miles. Kwa unaweza kuona pia distance ya earth kutoka kwenye sun jinsi ambavyo inakuwa kubwa. Distance ya earth kutoka kwenye sun, ukicount as kilometer utapata 149.6 million kilometer. And the period of revolution, that means is the rotation of the earth around the sun. So the earth has two types of rotation, as we know from our Form 1 geography. We have rotation and revolution. earth ina movement hizo mbili, revolution and rotation. Revolution takes 365.26 days, that means 1 year. Revolution ya earth inachukua 1 year. The movement of the earth around the sun, it is 1 year, but movement of the earth around its own axis, or rotation of the earth around its own axis, it is what we call the rotation, and it takes 24 hours. And having one satellite, which is the moon. So earth has one natural satellite, which is the moon, but there are many artificial satellites which we don't talk of them here, but here we are talking of the natural satellites. The earth is the land surface on which we live and move about. So where we are living, it is the outside of the earth. Where we are living is the outside of the earth. What we saw in the previous diagram here, the inner core, outer core, mantle, and crust, all of these, they are inside of the earth. So the continents, the oceans, and things like that, they are outside of the earth. Sometimes this concept is confusing because some people, they know that earth tend to rotate around its own axis, and if it takes 24 hours, that means some people, they think that if it takes 24 hours, that means sometimes we could fall because it rotates and it is circular or elliptical in shape. Now, how comes that the earth rotates and we don't fall? First, it is because of the gravitational force which tend to pull us towards the center of the earth. So when we are saying that the center of the earth, it is at the inner core. The gravitational force tend to pull us towards the center of the earth. So even if the earth tend to rotate around its own axis, and even if its speed of rotation is somehow high, but we don't fall. So that might be the reason behind kwa nini hatuanguki. Now let's go to start about the structure of the earth, how the earth it is made. Now the shape of the earth is an oblate spheroid, or it is spherical in shape, but not circular. Spherical in shape, oblate spheroid, because it is slightly flattened at the poles and bulging at the equator. As I said, that the shape of the earth, it is not circular like this way. Rather, it is, I think you can't see well this one, so let me illustrate the shape of the earth. It is like this one, because it is bulging in the equator, and slightly flattened in the poles, and bulging in the equator. Bulging, that means it goes this way in the equator. So that's why we are saying that the shape of the earth, it is oblate spheroid. Now the earth is a system which is composed of outer and inner zones. The outer zones of the earth include the atmosphere, hydrosphere, and biosphere, while the inner zones of the earth include crust, mantle, and the core. So when we are saying outer, kama nilivyosema, sisi tuko nje ya dunia. So out of the earth manake ni huku nje tuliko ndo out of the earth, wakati ndani ndiko ambako labda unavyokuwa na chimba kutoka kwenye crust, unaanzia kwenye udongo na chimba kwenda chini. So this diagram, I want to show the diagram here. This diagram here tend to summarize the structure of the earth. And as you can see from this diagram, that here we have the layers of the earth above from the earth's surface. We are starting with the stratosphere, then troposphere, then stratosphere, then mesosphere, then thermosphere, and exosphere. There is no scale in these layers because some of them they have higher height as compared to others. But this is just the simple arrangement of these layers. And for the sake of our physical geography, it's not so much important for you to know. However, they can bring you in MCQ, multiple choice questions. In multiple choice questions, they can bring you this these questions about the layers outside of the earth. But if we are going inside, we have the crust, upper mantle, outer core, and then inside we have the inner core. So we have crust, upper mantle, outer core, and the inner core. Actually, we can divide these layers into three major layers: the crust, the mantle, and the core. The crust, the mantle, and the core. Now, let's start discussing what the concentric zones of the earth. When we are saying concentric, it is because of the arrangement of these zones. Hizi zone unaziona zimezunguka hivi. Huku kuzunguka ndo ambako tunaita nini? Concentric. That means earth inakuwa sphere, then hizi zones zinakuwa zinazunguka ndo tunaita concentric. Now, the inner zones of the earth constitute the internal structure of the earth. The inner zone or internal structure of the earth consists of three zones of layer, which are crust, mantle, and core. Three major layers: crust, mantle, and core. Now, crust ndio kuanzia kwenye soil ambayo tunachimba to downward. Then from there, mantle is in between, then core is inside. The boundaries between these layers were discovered by seismographs, which showed the way vibration bounced off the layers during earthquake. Between the earth's crust and the mantle is the boundary called Moho. It was the first discover of a major change in Earth's crust as one goes deeper. So we shall discuss later about these boundaries. But between the layers of this Earth's crust, of the Earth's crust and the mantle, there is boundary. Also between the mantle and the core, there is boundary. This boundary, they were discovered because of the nature of the earthquake when it takes place. So vile earthquake ilivyokuwa inatokea, the difference in earthquake seismograph in these layers ndio ambayo tumia kudetect hizi layers. Now in this session, let's end up here. In the next session, we will start discussing about the crust, and then we shall go to mantle, and then we'll end up with the core. Thank you everybody, and let me wish you nice studies.